Uh, Take fucking two. Alright. Twilight Sparkle's Addiction by Zlaggi. Twilight Sparkle and Hard Drugs. The golden door opened, letting a certain purple princess into the royal bedroom. She is a princess of friendship and a goddess of magic, and said goddess was late. I'm so sorry for being late. I was stuck in the middle of something and I didn't notice the time. I rushed here as fast as I could. The purple princess head hung low. She hated being late for something, especially if it included her former teacher. It's quite alright, Twilight. You're only 2 minutes late. Celestia's smile remained on her face, but she did note that it was quite unlike Twilight to be even a minute late. This was more action that was added to the pile of growing worries in her mind. If an outsider would look into the situation, they wouldn't see anything amiss. A few minutes late here and there, maybe even a paper that was submitted half a day late. But this is Twilight, the same mayor who had nearly gone insane trying to find a friendship problem to solve, so she could send a report on it and not appear tardy. Not to mention the frizzled state of her hair. It was practically a bird's nest. If Celestia didn't know Twilight, she would have thought that she's got out of the bed. Please, have a seat. While she took a sip of her own afternoon tea, Celestia's horn glowed and the chair opposite of her was pulled back, giving Twilight a seat to rest on. Twilight barely had the time to sit down before Celestia spoke. So, how have you been this past few weeks? I believe you had a lot on your plate with looking after Anon. Twilight chuckled as she magically picked up the white teacup in front of her. She poured some tea from the matching teapot. You have no idea. I've been practically up 3 whole days just studying him, and there is so much more to learn. Celestia could see the twinkle in her eyes as she continued to list off many different things she found out about the alien roommate that she just picked up. A small smile spread on her lips as she continued to listen to her former student gush about her latest findings. Pleasant memories filled her mind, taking her years back towards the days where she was teaching the young unicorn filly. She was proud that the same excitement towards learning still persisted close to her heart. A small part of her saw Twilight as the young filly still, always eager to learn, always hanging out. Actually, no, fuck that. Always hanging on every word she said, as if any word she might say would have profound knowledge behind it. It felt like years could pass, but the young alicorn would always stay the same. Small filly she had met all those years ago. It's like a drug. It took every bit of resistance not to spit of her tea on her fellow alicorn. She brought a hoof on her mouth, her cheeks slightly expanding at the pressure. A small droplet of tea leaked through and stained the underside of her pristine white hooves. Celestia? A word of look replaced with a foolish excitement that was on her face. Are you okay? Celestia eventually gained control once more, and she swallowed her tea. She then cleared her throat and set the teacup down upon the fancy table. Yes, everything is fine. She wasn't even sure if she heard her former student right. I'm sorry, I must have misheard. What feels like a drug? The worried face of Twilight was replaced with a smile, huge smile. Celestia was sure. Anyways, ignore that. Celestia was sure that she might have seen a different kind of twinkles appear in her eyes. Screeches. Screeches. You mean scratches? She stated, as if she expected her to know what those were. Celestia's eyes narrowed slightly. What are scratches? Oh, it's when Anon. She paused mid-sentence, a thoughtful look across her face. I'm actually not sure how he does. My mind just kind of shuts down just when he gives them to me. Twilight shrugged. Celestia shivered. Something that could shut down the pony's mind. That sounded awfully lot like some sort of a drug. Not to mention, Twilight literally said it felt like one. An abnormal, serious look crossed Celestia's face. Twilight, is he drugging you? Twilight's eyes widened in a mixture of fear and confusion. What? No! He's not giving me any drugs. Twilight physically recoiled as she found particularly a scream. Oh, okay. Then a deep blush overcame her cheeks as she looked over the balcony railing to see if any pony had heard her. Thankfully, the royal garden was certainly empty. With that kind of reaction, it's hard to think otherwise. Celestia thought, a sigh escaping her lips. The air around them, both were getting a bit tense, something that Celestia had experienced too much in the recent days. This was one of her day off per month. She didn't really want to ruin it. She could even feel a slight headache coming along. Okay. I'm sorry about the background. What have the rest of your friends been up to? She switched the conversation topic to something more pleasant. The rest of their monthly afternoon tea passed relatively quickly. They talked about many subjects, but the first topic stayed in the princess' mind. After Twilight had left for Ponyville. Okay. Was Twilight doing drugs? She's sure not hope. The answers she gave her didn't really help ease her mind of the matter either. Was she really able to fall from grace in a such manner? That's it. She wouldn't stay stuck thinking about this. It would get her nowhere. I think I need to give Twilight a surprise visit. Celestia mumbled before she opened the door to her room and informed the guards stationed outside that she was not to be disturbed for the rest of the day. The golden door closed and locked behind her. Then the flash of golden light magic, Princess Celestia vanished from her room. The crystal walls of Twilight Sparkle's castle were the first things to greet her eyes as she opened them after her teleportation. The sound of hoops in packing crystal echoed out in the relatively emptied hallway. Okay. Celestia's horn was surrounded by a golden glow. As she cast a spell, she turned her head to the right as the information was she looking for to enter her brain. Her pace quickened. Her destination was the library section of Twilight's castle. Spotting the door slightly ajar, she took a quick peek inside. Her ears both turned towards the two occupants in the room. She could see Anon hunched over his back towards the door. His arms seems to be occupied with something. Celestia's brow furrowed as she saw something purple poking behind the human. Her eyes widened in realization that was Twilight. A chuckle emanated from the human. You're addicted. Celestia's heart seemed to skip a beat after hearing Anon's word. Twilight Sparkle, from a high-achieving unicorn, then alicorn, now turned to drugs. From the angle she was looking at, it looked like Twilight was laying down on the floor while Anon was hunching over her. Most likely doing something illegal like feeding drugs to her. Celestia felt her heart start pounding in her chest. She wasn't going to stand for this. Anyway, Celestia felt her heart start pounding in her chest. Oh, I already read that one. She will put an end to this vile act right this instant. Celestia practically jumped into the room, the door loudly impacting the crystal walls, announcing her presence in the two occupants. Holy shit! Oh. Anon couldn't even finish his surprise exclamation before Celestia's voice cut him off. Get her away! Get away from her, you... Her voice slowly got smaller until it was clearly completely cut off. She wasn't sure what the two of them were doing. It didn't look like he was giving drugs to Twilight. Anon lifted both of his hands off the purple mare. He would have stood up if not for the weight of a certain alicorn of friendship laying on his lap. Said alicorn was being lost in completely lost in a different world. It took a few seconds for her realization. It took a second for her to realize that Anon's hands weren't on her head anymore. This isn't, who cares? It's exactly what it looked like. Anon tried to explain himself before he gave up. Celestia wasn't exactly sure what it was they were doing. What does it look like? Her eyebrows raised in a questioning manner. Bets and scratches, Anon replied, his voice devoid of emotion. I surrender. Take me to jail. What? Why would I do that? Celestia was puzzled. Aren't pets and scratches illegal or something? That's what Twilight said. He pointed at the smaller princess in his lap, who was slightly rubbing her eyes. Then suddenly the purple princess jumped off of Anon and bowed low at the taller mare. I'm so sorry, Celestia. I didn't know scratches were illegal. Please don't banish me. Celestia's questioning look remained. She didn't know anything about what they were talking about. Could somebody tell me what those scratches are? How are scratches and pets illegal if you don't know what they are? Anon's arms fell down on his lap. Well, to my knowledge, they aren't. Where did you get that idea? Celestia's gaze landed on the purple horse, or the purple princess, that was slightly shaking. Okay. Well, if you ask, Anon was giving me drugs when I was talking about scratches earlier today. Drugs are obviously illegal. Well, except for if it's medicine. I didn't know that scratches were drugs. Celestia responded with a simple hum of acknowledgement. What? Anon simply could not understand the logic behind it. Was that why you were all panicked when you came back? Twilight responded with a cheeky smile as deep blushes overcame her. You do realize scratches aren't drugs, right? Twilight gave him a cheapest smile and shrugged, Anon sighed and facepalm. Celestia remembered that her mind drifted during the topic of conversation. It could be that she might have misheard her and jump on the gun, as Anon once said. Celestia's pose visibly relaxed as she realized that Twilight in fact wasn't doing anything illegal of any drugs. Now she was interested in these scratches that Twilight and Anon had been talking about the whole day. Celestia cleared her throat. I might have misheard you earlier today. Please lead me to overreact. I'm so sorry about that. Anon wiped a forehead. What? With the back of his hand, as his body simply visibly relaxed. I'm glad that was all a misunderstanding. Then he leaned a bit to his head was next to Twilight. So, Anon rubbed his hands together. Does your mom want scratches? And Twilight froze, her head slowly turned to look at Anon. What? What? Was it something I said? A clueless smile spread on Anon's lips. Well, this concludes my first reading and the first, I think, chapter of the addiction series or whatever maybe, from Zlaggi. Yeah, hooray! And if you guys want more, feel free to let me know, and just let me know in the comment below if you want me to continue the series. Alright, ciao, bye!